Hey guys, so today we are going to discuss creation of a linked list. So previously we have seen what is a linked list, right? So now we are going to see how can we create a linked list. So let's get started. So here we are having a linked list. Let's say this is a linked list, right? We know what is a linked list, how we structure a linked list, right? So a linked list is something which contains nodes, and in this case this is a node, right? So this is a node and it contains two attributes. One is a value and another one is the next reference node, right? It contains the next of type node where it stores the reference of this node, right? So this is a structure of a node. So generally to get or to access a linked list, we generally use a pointers. For example, in this case we are using a pointer called as head. So this head generally points to the first node or the first node of the linked list. So there is another pointer called as tail which points to the last of the last node of the linked list. So these are the two pointers which we're going to use. So the reason why we are using this is this makes accessing something very easier, or to add something or to remove something very easier, right? So now we are having nodes, right? We are having nodes in the linked list. So first see what a node has, right? So for example, let's take, we have a node. So we know, right, we have a node, and a node contains different things. We know that. So what are those? So one is a value of int type, right? It's a value of integer, and contains a reference variable which is of type node, which stores the next node, right? So this is a node which is of type node. This is also a node which is of type node. So to store that the reference of the next node, the reference variable should be of type node, right? That's it. So we are going to have a variable called as node which is going to store the next node, right? This is what a node contains. This is what we know till now. So now what is a linked list? So a linked list is something which contains nodes, right? Which contains nodes. So let's take that. So we have a linked list. So a linked list, so it contains different things. Let's make note of them. So it contains nodes, so it may contain as many nodes as possible, right? So as I said before, for accessing a linked list we use two pointers. So for the first one, to access the first node, we use a head pointer. For that, head pointer should be of type node, because to store the first node, or to get access to the first node, the variable should also be the type node, right? So for that, we're going to have a node of type a variable of type node, and it's going to be head, right? So similarly, to access the last node, we are going to have a tail pointer. It is also of type node, and name would be tail. So this is it. Like a linked list contain a head and tail pointer, a node contain a value and a next pointer, right? So now what if I can create a class which looks like this, right? Generally an object is nothing but it's an instance like of a class, right? So for that, what I can do is I can create a class of node and a class of list which looks like this. So these are the classes. So if one class is a head node class, one class is a linked list class. So a linked list class contains nodes of type nodes. I think you got the point, right? So I would say like a linked list would be like, this is a linked list class, right? This is a linked list, and linked list contains multiple nodes like this. These are the nodes of type class node. I think you got the point. These are of type nodes. So this is how we have structured. A linked list contains nodes, and node contains value and next. I think you got the point, right? I think you got it. So now, how do we create a linked list? Like creating a linked list is nothing but creating an object for this linked list class, right? That's it, because objects are always unique. So creating an object is nothing but creating a linked list. So if we change one object, or if we change one linked list, it doesn't change any other linked list, right? So for example, let's create an object for this linked list class. So linked list, because it is of type linked list, right? Linked list. So I would say maybe L1, maybe, which is of type linked list. So we are creating object. So new linked list, and yeah, this is it. So now this is of type linked list, right? So initially, for now this linked list doesn't contain any nodes, right? It only contains two pointers. One is a head pointer, one is a tail pointer, which is not pointing to any node. These are null initially, right? So that actually means creating a linked list doesn't have any nodes initially, so we have to add it later. Like we have to do some operations like adding some nodes or removing some nodes or updating some nodes. So for that we can add some methods in this class. Like for example, we have added a method called as add, we have added a method called as update, we have added a method called as remove, right? We can add those methods or the operations inside this class, so that in that case what we can do is, as this is of type linked list, right? So if at all we want to do some operations, for example, we have to do some add operation because this is initially an empty list, right? So what all I can do is just L1 dot add a particular value. Like for example, let's take I take a value 2, right? So now I'll just pass this 2 here. So this add going to perform some logic. Similarly for update, similarly for remove, right? So I'm not going deep into these operations right now, so let's make another video for this add operation, for update operation and remove operation. For now, for this video, let's focus on creating a linked list, right? So this is how you create a linked list. Yeah, so we have used a constructor, we have created a linked list, and we are just, initially they are just head and tail pointer, it doesn't point to any nodes. Yeah, so now let's try to create a linked list programmatically. Let's try to take an IDE and let's try to create a linked list there. So now here we are having a file where its name is solution, right? So for that I'm going to create a class called as solution, which contains a main method. So this is a client class, so maybe think this is a client or this is a person who creates a linked list, right? So now, as you have seen before, we have we need two classes, right? We have seen two classes. One class is for node and one class is for linked list, right? So first let's start with node. So I'll create a node class. As we have seen before, a node contains two attributes. One is a value which is of type int, one is a reference variable which is of type node, right? Which is going to store the next node. So now I'm going to create a class called as linked list, right? This is a linked list class. As we have seen before, a linked list class contains two pointers. One is a head pointer, right? The head pointer is of type node, and another one is a tail pointer which is of type node, right? So this is it. So now let's create a linked list. So creating a linked list is nothing but creating an object for this linked list class, right? That's it. So let's create a linked list. So linked list, list one, new linked list. This is it. We have created a linked list. So this is an object. The linked list is nothing but this is an object, right? So if you make any operations or if you make any changes for this list or for this object, it doesn't change any other linked list. For example, I have created another linked list, list 2, new linked list, right? I have created another linked list. This is one object and this is one object. For example, if I want to add some values in it, right? So maybe I don't want to get much deeper into this addition or removal operations, but what I would do is maybe I would create some methods in this class called as linked list. So it would be void add. I would pass maybe a value in it, maybe like this, and I would do some adding logic, right? Similarly, I'm going to create a method for void update. I would do that updation based on index, maybe index of the node, right? I would do some updation logic, right? So similarly for remove operation, it's going to remove the node from the list, right? So I would just pass index, so it's going to do some removal logic, right? So if I, for example, if I do list one dot add 2 or 1, and this is going to add this one in this list only, right? Because these are objects are always unique and they are independent with each other, right? So this one is going to be added in this list 1 but not in list 2. So similarly, if you want to add in list 2 dot add maybe 3, so this is going to add in the list 2 but not in list 1, right? So I think you got the point. So this is a separate class. So this, if you perform operations on this class object, it is going to perform on that object only but not to any other object. I think you got the point. So this is how you create a linked list, right? I think you got the point. So if you like the video, please make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you.